But what the marketing pulpit is about is strategy. Use social media and stop letting it use you. That's one thing about a business. It's an equalizer. It's a game changer. Lock the refrigerator door. Do not let negativity have another bite. Don't feed it. I may stop at some period, but as long as folks act the food, got to talk about it. And one of the things you want to do as a business owner is to create barriers of entry. I'm not busy. I'm just in another era. If we know that women are carrying the burden, they should be paid more, they should be given more flexible work hours. We have to think like the successful companies. Welcome to the Marketing Pulpit TV show. I'm Robert Gatewood, your host, and we are here every Friday at 10:30 a.m. bringing you the good marketing gospel. And today is no exception. We are on the eve of a new year. Can you believe that? 2021 is over, gone, kaput, out of here. Well, one thing, we survived, regardless of how insidious, nefarious, challenging, we made it. Well, at least we made it up to this point. We have another few hours to go, so let's not count all the chickens before they hatch. So anyway, thanks again for joining us today. This is the Marketing Pulpit TV show. I'm Robert Gatewood, your host, and we've been to you quite a few Fridays in 2021, and we're planning to go into 2022, bringing you the good marketing gospel, building strong businesses in our community, and putting people to work. Woo, man, to do that, we have to create successful businesses. And that's been my purpose, my mission, my raison d'etre, my reason for being for the past 12 years. And I'm going to continue. Man, when you're on a mission, you have a purpose, you just don't turn it off because you're going from one year to the next. And in case anybody wonders who I am, I'm a business developer by trade. I have a company, Gatewood Marketing and Web, and we've been doing that now almost 30 years. I'm also an adjunct professor at Prince George's Community College. I've written in a couple of books, Smarter Than the Boss and Played in Full. I worked with the Small Business Administration as a consultant in the 8A program. And so I've been at this for a minute. But you know, we're at a precipice now. We're at the end of another year. No matter how you spin it, this year's just about out of here. But you know what? I had to think about this for a minute. Everything ends. Now marinate on that for a minute. Everything under this sun, including the sun, ends at some point. Now, there's no changing that. You sit here and think about it. You can try to find some exceptions if you want to. If you get them, I'm all ears. I want to hear it. But I'm sticking with it. Everything ends. Now, we can't change that. I'm just going to put that out there. But what we can change is to how it ends, when it ends, and why it ends. That's right. I'm a big proponent of controlling the controllables. There are certain things in life that are resolute. They just don't change. And some things we just don't have control over. They're beyond our control. But there are things that we do control. This year is going to end, just like many other things in your life will end. But the how, the when, and the why, we can control. And they say how. How do you control the how it's going to end? Well, you can end it on a high note or a bad note. You can be negative or positive. It can be protracted, or it can be quick and sudden. It can be quiet and subtle, or you can go out with a bang. You can control the how it ends. And to some degree, we can control when it ends. Is it going to end on somebody else's time frame, or is it going to end on your time frame? And given the choice, I'd rather for it to end on my time frame. So since you know it's going to end, as all things do, let's stop being surprised when things end and letting other people dictate the terms of when it ends and why it ends. Now, this next one gets a little trickier. The why. We think that that something in and that is fastidious. There is no gray area as to why it ends. It ended because A, B, C, or D. Well, I'm going to beg to differ today, because I'm going to say that it depends on your perspective. Let me give you an example. The day ends. A day ends. Now you think that, wait, there's no quiet to that. Well, it depends. It could end because the clock struck midnight and there were 24 hours that passed. That's why the day ended. It could have ended because your work day, you punched the clock at 5 o'clock and the day was over. Okay? You could say that the day ended because the sun went down. That's why the day ended. Okay? Clock struck midnight. That's why. You finished your work. You punched out. That's why. The sun went down. The day is over. It's ended. So as you can see, we have more control over that why than we are led to believe. And sometimes somebody else is writing the story as to why. Now, we got to live in the world of reality. But why things end sometimes is more tied to our purpose. And sometimes we don't see the silver lining in it because somebody else is writing that story for us. So yes, we do have control over the ending, the why, the how, and the when. Now, some final thoughts. As we go into 2022, take stock of what's happening around you, because before things end, they tend to change. You're not as blindsided. Sometimes we don't notice the changes or acknowledge them. But even when you're in the bed at night and you're about to end your night, your sleep, your slumber for the day, your breathing pattern changes. So things don't just happen out of the blue. Take stock of the changes around you. Understand that change means to make or become different. You can make it or you can become. So, know what you can change. Know what you cannot change. This earth is going to take about 365 revolutions around the sun in 2022. That's immutable. That's not much we can do about that. But what happens on this earth, there are endless possibilities for us to change. So, folks, that's my message, as we go into 2022, and we have a great show lined up. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in. This is the Marketing Pulpit TV show. I'm Robert Gatewood, your host. We're here every Friday at 10:30 a.m., bringing you the good marketing gospel. We're going to come back in a minute. I talked to our baby New Year, as I do every year about this time. Now, baby New Year had a different spin this year. Normally, he's giving you advice on New Year's resolutions, what to do and what not, what's realistic and what's not. Well, this year, I called baby New Year, and I said, look, we still have this pandemic. He said, look, first of all, Gatewood, I already know that. Remember, I am baby New Year. And so he gave me some advice this year, and I don't know what you're he or she. I mean, I don't get into that. But baby New Year gave me some advice this year on the pandemic, past and present. And we're going to talk about that when we come back. So don't go anywhere. We're going to get baby New Year's perspective on how to go into 2022 in the midst of a pandemic. So don't go anywhere. This is the Marketing Pulpit TV show. I'll be right back in a moment. I'm not busy. I'm just in another era. Lock the refrigerator door. Do not let negativity have another bite. Don't be. If we know that women are carrying the burden, they should be paid more. They should be given more flexible work hours. I may stop in some period, but as long as folks back the food, got to talk about it. That's right, baby new. Oh, yeah, baby new year. I'm about to go on. I'm about to do the segment right now. Thank you again. And yeah, I understand. I understand. All right. Man, that baby new year. Anyway, I told you I was going to do a baby new year. I have to talk to baby new year this time of year because we're getting ready to go into the 2022, and he likes to give. I like to think I have some clout that we can talk. I tell you one thing about baby new year. He keeps telling me this. I forget every year. Baby new year said, "Wait a minute. You understand? You know how to text? Nobody talks on the phone anymore. I know. I did a whole show on this. So, baby new year, I'm not practicing what I preach in that regard. So, I would not be calling baby new year in the future. I'd be doing the text or DM or some other form of communication. I've done several shows on this. I don't know why I didn't know that. That you have to communicate with people the way they want to be communicated with. And I know you shouldn't end the sentence in a preposition, but baby new year is no exception. So this year, we're going to focus on the pandemic. So I got some advice from Baby New Year, and he's a feisty fellow or female or whatever it is. But let's talk about what Baby New Year gave us this year. Let's see. This is the pandemic advice, a pandemic-inspired advice from Baby New Year. And yes, Baby New Year, I know everybody, including myself, we get you confused with Baby Jesus every now and then. I mean, you have to admit, no, come on, folks, it's like a week apart, the celebration, babies, powers. Anyway, Baby Jesus and Baby New Year are not the same. And New Year's resolution, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, is not a prayer, okay? It's a resolution. That's the difference. Anyway, enough about that. Now, this is what Baby New Year said. This is not me. This is Baby New Year. Baby New Year said, first of all, the CDC is winging it. Hey, what do you mean? Well, I'm sure many people have thought that. The CDC, they've had a tough past couple of years. I mean, they started out to make the first big snafu with the mask and whether to wear a mask or not. Then they made another snafu when they told everybody, if you vaccinated, forget about it, go out there and live life. Then they retracted that, and now they just announced that they're going to cut back on the incubation period between. So we see, I get it though. I feel sorry for the CDC. Can you imagine if you had that kind of responsibility on you? So Baby New Year saying you're winging it. What I'm going to say, Baby New Year, being a little hard on the CDC. And that's the Center for the Disease Control. I say it's a tough position to be in. Man, people's lives are on the line, and you got all these opposition. Everything is politicized. But it's not a position I want to be in. So that's one. Anyway, that's what the Baby New Year said. The CDC is kind of winging it right now. Okay, here's another bit of advice from Baby New Year. If you're part of that work from home crowd, your boss knows when you're in the mall and when you're not at your desk. I mean, you got to give these folks some credit. I know a lot of you young folks think y'all can outsmart these companies. Man, they got some stuff for you that they haven't told you about. So just because you're out there, you and your little boo got together, you went out shopping to the mall, you say, well, I was supposed to be at the desk, and you think the boss doesn't know. I'm not going to tell you why they know, but they got some information that you might not be aware of. So if you're going to be working from home, go ahead and, now if you're ready to bail and go do something else, that's one thing. But that's just notice, ladies and gentlemen, from somebody in the tech field, they got some stuff for you. That's from Baby New Year, by the way, also. Also, Baby New Year told me to tell you this. I don't know why you put this in here, but if it was illegal before the pandemic, it's illegal now. I don't know where we're going with that, but anyway, I'm just passing it along. Also, in the same line, if you couldn't sing before the pandemic, you can't sing now either. Okay, Baby New Year, getting a little feisty there, getting a little petty, but anyway. I know some people, they picked up all these skills during the pandemic, and they come out now and you think all of a sudden they're Shakespeare, they can write, they can play golf. Now, of course, I picked up a few habits during the pandemic. I think I'm a pretty good golfer right now. But according to Baby New Year, probably not. It's a good little exercise, little side activity. Let's see what else Baby New Year told us to pass on here. If your kids are doing that working If they're taking classes online now, Baby New Year told me to pass this along. And it's kind of cold. Your kid is probably going to lose a step. It's just not the same as sitting in that classroom. Your kid is probably going to lose a step if you're depending solely on that going to class online. Now, what I'm going to add to the mix is that you, as the parent, as the caretaker, you have to fill in that void. There's no way under the sun that they're going to get the same amount of education, the same type of experience online than they were getting in the classroom. That means in some cases, we had specialists on the show talking about that. You may have to expand your bubble and get some kids to get together in different groups. And you, as a parent, got to fill in some of those education gaps. But you don't want your kids to fall too far behind here during this pandemic. So let's see what else Baby New Year got for us. Okay, he said for some reason he's thinking about takeout food. These takeout food people, they have a good memory. If you're going to be using that takeout place to order your food that you're going to ingest in your body, you better learn the world of tipping. Don't do tip baiting. Tipping simply means you put a little extra on the tab for the driver, 15, 20%. And if you're going to be ordering on a regular basis, there's a good chance you're going to get that same driver again. And they remember. That Gatewood didn't tip. There's somebody who has my food in their hand. Go ahead. If you're going to be doing it, go ahead and drop a couple of extra pennies. And don't do that tip baiting. This tip baiting is a new thing where people, on these apps, you can put in advance how much you're going to tip the driver before the driver gets there. So you can put in, like, I'm going to give them a 50% tip, and they're going to, with the hope that they're going to get you the food there faster and in better condition. And then after the driver delivers the food, you have the capability to go back into the app and lower the tip. And some of those drivers, they hate that. Now, don't blame them. That's wrong. It's going to get your food. Tell it your food. Don't play with that. These folks are crazy now. Now, Baby New Year had a special take on Zoom. I mean, we got a little session here on Zoom that's from the Baby New Year. Going into 20, what we're doing right now, we're covering some tips from Baby New Year as we go into 2022, trying to get out of 2021 alive. And these are some of Baby New Year's. In the past, he's given us more general tips. This year is focus on the pandemic and the lockdown. Baby New Year told me to tell you, remember, that camera is always on. Now, of course, it's not always on, but you better act like it. So anything you don't want the world to see, you better step behind that camera. You better put a cover over it or something. Because too many people in 2020 and 2021 have been embarrassed by making the assumption that camera was off when indeed it was not. Good advice, Baby New Year. Let's see, what else here on Zoom? And also, just because you're on Zoom, we can still see you. I don't know why folks think because they're on Zoom, we can't see them. We see what's behind you, and we still see what you have on. Remember, you can see from here up. So if you didn't comb your hair, we can see it. If you didn't wash your face, we can see it. Okay? If you got a bong in front of it, we see that, okay? We can see it. Another thing, it's still okay, it's still required, and it's still acceptable to be on time, whether you're in person or not. I don't know why people assume since it's on Zoom, it's okay to show up 15 minutes late. You done logged in, I sent you the links out. They come rolling in there about 10, 15 minutes. I guess it's that CP time. That doesn't work on Zoom. Oh boy, let's see, what else? Also, your phones. It's still okay to do some things by phone. Everything does not have to be Zoom. You gotta set it up. You gotta send out the link. You gotta get the internet working. You gotta make sure your camera's right. You gotta throw the kids in the back room. It takes 15 minutes, 20 minutes to set up a Zoom call. Man, you could make that phone call in 5 seconds and be on with something else. So everything does not involve a Zoom call. That's straight from the mouth of Baby New Year. Oh yeah. Baby New Year also told me to tell you that you don't have to make your head explode trying to hold that coffee in 2022. Because right now, the Omicron virus, it's not necessarily, coughing is not necessarily one of the symptoms. It's more like sneezing, and it's almost like a cold. And if you got a cough, I mean, I think it's understood now that everybody who coughs doesn't have COVID. Anyway, but whatever you do, close your mouth and get away from people, but don't make your head explode trying to keep from coughing. And for vaccine people, Baby New Year told me to tell you this, and he was very passionate about it. Don't get your vaccine advice from, I don't know what the hell I'm talking about, and I'm going to probably be dead in a month anyway.com. How many times have we seen during the course of 21, somebody's on the air, they're knocking the vaccine, they're telling you not to do this, not to do that, and then on their deathbed, they decide they have become the Jesus moment. Get your advice from reliable sources. I'm just going to go up to people who do this stuff for a living, okay? I can't just rely on a blogger. I mean, don't even take it from me. I mean, but do get your information from a reliable source. And last, I think the time is over that you can use the COVID and the lockdown as a get out of jail free card for every possible violation. At some point, you're going to have to get back to life. You can't keep using the lockdown as an excuse for everything. I gained weight. Blame on COVID. I mean, no, you need to back away from that second helping of pie. You can't blame that on COVID. I didn't cut the grass. Didn't wipe the car. Didn't shower. Didn't shave. In 2022, COVID, lockdown, pandemic will not be your get out of jail free card. Because this pandemic is here. It's going to be here for a minute. You got to get used to that. So you can't keep using it as excuses for things. It has become part of the norm. So you still got to be on time. You still have to exercise. Still got to shave and shower. You got to do the things. You got to be responsible. And according to Brand Lee, the model, she said you can exercise in the house. Oh, but it's funny. Good morning, Brother Bradley Thomas. Thank you, brother. And good morning, Brother Gerald Brown. And I want to thank a few people also this morning. So anyway, folks, that's my words from Baby New Year, ending by saying you can't use the pandemic as your get out of jail free card for everything. Oh boy, Brand Lee told us you can still exercise. We can see you on those Zoom calls. All right, folks, let me thank a few people before I go on my break. I'm going to take a quick break. We'll come back and do some news. We'll talk about some of the business news. We're also going to talk about some of these folks that are still cutting the food right up until the end. We thought they'd take a respite at the end of the year, but no, they're going to go right up until the deadline, acting the plum food. And we call that section War in the Workplace. Why are people so angry? But before I do that, I want to thank some folks. I want to thank some people as I get ready to go into my break. I want to thank you, first of all, the listeners, the followers, the people that have made this show a phenomenal success. And I set out on this mission not to make money, not to get rich. I'm doing this as part of my mission, my purpose. One thing about a purpose, and don't blame me for that, sometimes when you're on a purpose, it turns into revenue. That's when you know it's a good purpose too, by the way. When you start getting rewarded for it, that's a good purpose. Okay, so I want to thank you for that. And yes, I have benefited from it. But the biggest benefit comes from you, knowing that I'm making a difference in people's lives. Okay, I have my company, Gatewood Marketing and Web. That's really where I make my money, okay? This show is like a part of giving back. Just like I teach over at the college, at Prince George's Community College. Of course, they pay me, but I mean, I could make more than that doing something else, but it's part of my giving back. And so I'm going to say, and as we go into 2022, be on the side of good. Be on the side of good. But I want to thank you, the listeners, for getting me here. I started this show back in 2010, named it Marketing Pulpit in honor of my dad, who was on hospice at the time. And I wanted to find a way to celebrate his life. Because he spent so many years in the pulpit, I named the show Marketing Pulpit. And I had no idea at the time that this show would take on the type of game-changing countenance that it did, and that it would affect so many lives. I was one of my followers, clients really, Neely Fuller Jr., very well-known gentleman who has written several books on counter-racism. And his wife was a listener of my show on Radio 1. And she told the son, you need to call this guy. Now, that's the example of being in your purpose and good things happening. We talked about, a couple of weeks ago, we did a show on disability, persons with disabilities on December 3rd. Persons with Disability, International Person with Disabilities Day. And on that same day, somebody who had been referred to me called me up to say, I want to retain your company to help launch my business that's going to be geared towards helping people with disabilities. I can't make this stuff up. So the purpose drives you, but it's the people like you that keeps it going. So I want to thank you, the listeners. I want to thank all the people who've joined the show this year, who've been guests, my co-hosts, people like Felicia Day, the accountant, Winna Cullen, the therapist, Candace Camille, the wellologist, my special guests, the sisters from Eta Phi Beta Sorority, the people from Black Voters Matter, people from all walks of life, people from the Holler organization, Leon Gatewood, and all the many people he sent our way. I want to thank you, my special guests, and people like that as well. I want to thank all my clients, thank my family here and in all over the Carolinas. I just want to thank people who have made me who I am, and I don't ever want to forget that, really. And so we all have somebody to thank for getting us through 2021, but now we got to get ready for 2022. And from all indications, it's going to be a doozy. So thank you again. Thank you again. Now we're going to come back here in a minute. We're going to talk about some items in the news. And on my marketing sermon today, we're going to talk about reflecting. Things to reflect upon. Things to re-examine. To find out where you are now, where you were, and are you in the right place as you go forward. So we're going to ask you to re-examine some things before we get into this new year. So don't go anywhere. This is the Marketing Pulpit TV show. Thank you again to everybody who's listening. Welcome to the new followers and listeners. Also, thank the folks over at Amazon who just this week, they anointed me as an Amazon influencer. Hey, how do I mean, there's a little form I had to fill out, but they sent it to me. I filled it out. And they said, well, so I guess in Amazon eyes, they think I have influence. So what I'm going to be doing with that, I'm going to be opening the Pulpit Toolkit, where I'm going to be suggesting tools, production tools to help make your marketing more successful in 2022. Like the first item I just really want to mention is I bought this past holiday. I got a holiday gift. It's a table riser you put on your desk, because if you sit at your desk all day long, eventually it's going to start taking a toll on your back. So I got this gift, and I've been using it where you actually can put it on your desk and stand up and work. And when you're not working, you can put your computer down up under it. It opens up extra desk space. One of the best ideas I've seen in many years, and one that I'm recommending. So if you want to find out about the Marketing Pulpit Toolkit, just go to marketingpulpit.com, and it's up in the menu bar, and you'll see my recommendations, and you can follow those. So I'll be putting items in there that I have tested, tried, I like. In some cases, I may not have tested them myself, but that is a new feature we're going to have going into 2022. Thank you again, Sister. Hey, thank you, Mary. That's my cousin out of Carolina. And thank you, Brenda. So we're going to take a quick break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back in a moment. We're going to be talking about items in the news. This is the Marketing Pulpit, so don't go anywhere. And so hang on one moment. Where's my darn button here? All right, hang on. I'm not busy. I'm just in another era. Lock the refrigerator door. Do not let negativity have another bite. Don't feed it. If we know that women are carrying the burden, they should be paid more, they should be given more flexible work hours. I may stop at some period, but as long as folks bag the food, got to talk about it. I had somebody ask me the other day, said, Gatewood, I want to hire you to do my branding for me. Where do I get started? I said, you have already started, I hope. How are you treating your customers? How are you treating your staff? Are you making a difference in society? What kind of service are you putting out here? You're already branding whether you know it or not. The key is it the type of branding you want? You are messaging in every decision you make in your company. That logo that people claim to be the brand is just the iconic representation of the brand that you've already developed. Does the brand that you have already started represent where you want to be? I'm a little concerned about some of the things that are happening in the country right now. People are beating the drums of civil war and it's all this divisiveness. And no matter how bad you think things are, no matter how horrible, you may feel like your rights are being trampled upon. You may feel like somebody is infringing on your rights by requiring you to wear a mask or to take a vaccine. You're ready to take up arms and shoot up the place. I can assure you, it's going to be a lot worse. And you think things are going to be better by turning this country upside down with some type of physical and violent conflict. I can guarantee you, your life will be worse off. And it'll be worse off for everybody. So let's just step back a minute, calm down, chill, let this democracy do what it's supposed to do. It's not perfect, but I can assure you it's better than the alternative. All right, welcome back. Welcome back to the Marketing Pulpit TV show. I'm Robert Gatewood, your host, and we are here every Friday at 10:30 a.m. bringing you the good marketing gospel. We're getting ready for 2022. Oh, my goodness. Woo! I remember a few years ago, it seemed like it was not that long ago, we were getting ready for Y2K. Remember that? The plane's supposed to fall out the sky and the elevator was going to start working and everybody was running out to try to become a programmer to save us from all these bad things that were supposed to happen. That was 22 years ago. And time be flying, doesn't it? Whoa. All right, we're going to talk about a couple items in the news here. Thank you again, everybody, for tuning in. This is the Marketing Pulpit TV show. I'm Robert Gatewood, your host. Go to marketingpulpit.com and you can follow the show. We have the show right on the homepage. Some people have asked about how to get to the show. They're like, I'm not a social media person. I don't do Facebook. I don't do YouTube or Twitter. Well, anyway, if you go to marketingpulpit.com, you can watch the show right there on the homepage, whether you have any social media items or not. But if you're on your favorite platform, you can tune in on Facebook. You can tune in on Twitter. You can tune in on YouTube as well and LinkedIn. So thank you again for tuning in from all of these various platforms. Let's talk about some items in the news. The COVID cases have smashed new records. Well, we're supposed to be out of this thing. Come on, COVID. Get out of here. We don't want to carry you into 2022. Well, like it or not, 2022 is going to bring more cases. We've had 430,000 new daily cases on Wednesday. 430,000. That's a lot of folks. Average of about 301,000 and 202 million cases have been reported in the past week. Now, of course, it's testing the hospitals and the weary workers, and they're still fighting folks who refuse to get vaccinated, and they clog up the hospital system. People can't get in even hospital for regular types of surgery. So it's causing a problem in New York. They passed their highest record. Football seasons are being tested. UCLA pulled all of this out of the Holiday Bowl. In spite of that, now the holiday sales rose by 8% in spite of the pandemic. I guess there is some good news in there. With a silver lining in that cloud. There's a shortage of these tests. Everybody's trying to get a test. Everybody's trying to get a test before they went home to see grandma during the Christmas holiday, and now they have these self-tests. President Biden said he was going to make it available to everybody, but they haven't signed the deal yet, so that's not going to happen on January 1st, as everybody was hoping. So the self-tests have been, the lines are long and the shelves are empty. Now, if there's any good news in this new wave of the pandemic, is that it has been less severe when it comes to your health. The death rate per people who caught it have been substantially lower, and the symptoms are milder. And much of that could be attributed to the fact that many of the people that have gotten it also have been vaccinated. Now, the folks who do have the hardest time with it right now are the unvaccinated. And I stated earlier, the Omicron rules have changed somewhat, and this is just out of pure necessity. So in the old days, if you got Omicron, if you got the virus, you had to go pretty much live in a cave for about 2 weeks before you could come back to work or resume your regular routine. Well, those days have been shortened by the CDC. And I understand why, because eventually you're going to run out of people to fly airplanes, as we have experiencing right now. We had 1,300 cancellations on Thursday. Can you imagine? We're not talking about 1,300 people. We're talking about 1,300 planes full of people that had to make adjustments and change their plans. That's a lot. So of course the CDC is dealing with some reality. And I think that's how the pandemic is eventually going to resolve itself. It's not going to go away. It's not going to be solved or cured. But what's going to happen, we're going to see a lessening of the severity. We're going to see a lessening of the reaction to people who have it. In the old days, you had COVID. It was the kiss of death. You wait to drop and die, basically. Well, that's no longer the case, thanks to the vaccine and some of the other advances that have taken place, and this new variant doesn't seem to be as lethal. So I think the pandemic is going to be it's going to be an accepted part of daily life for years to come, and there's going to be a lessening of the reaction of what happens when somebody gets it and so forth. That's just my prediction. Now, a Fox host tried to get a job over at The View, and they told her to keep stepping because she had publicly announced that she would not get the vaccine. Now, whether that's right or wrong, it is it's still a reality. You have to make these decisions now. I think Ice Cube not too long ago passed on a $9 million gig because he refused to get a shot. And so you're seeing this on the football fields and places like that. Just know that if you're making these kind of decisions, that it will have some type of impact. And if you're willing to deal with it, then who am I to say? But this happened to a Fox News. They were trying to find a conservative person to fill that seat on The View. And this lady, what's her name? Lisa Booth. She was going to replace Meghan McCain. They told her to keep stepping. Now, pay raises are coming. There's been a pretty good bump in pay raises during 2021, but it's come with a cost. There's been an inflation rate of about a 39-year high. So anybody who got a raise in 2021, they almost lost it, gave it back because of these prices going through the roof. And that's kind of the way it works. Let's see. Now, here's an interesting phenomenon. If you're looking for some bright news during the pandemic and the end of the year, if you got a Christmas gift or a holiday gift, a Kwanzaa gift, or whatever kind of gift, and you go online to return it, many of these stores are saying, we'll give you the refund, but hang on to the gift. That hasn't happened to me yet, but I'm going to keep trying because I've done quite a few returns. They're saying keep it. It's more trouble for them on some of these gifts to restock it, label it back up, put the glue back in it, put it back in that little plastic thing that's impossible to open. They said, we're not going through all that for a $10 gift. They're saying keep it. That's pretty good. There was 60, they're expecting $67 billion in returns from this season, which is a 45% increase over the last 5-year average. Well, hey, when you ask for a refund, when you ask for online, that's what you're gonna get. You're gonna get people. You gotta make it easy for people to return it. I just returned something yesterday. What I try to do though, if I have an option, I try to order from a place that have a brick and mortar store nearby. If I got to show us to order it on this place or that place, and the other place has a brick and mortar store, it makes it easier, I think, for the person to go back and take it back than having them to go through that maze of trying to do that, fill that refund. But they have made it easy though. I think Walmart even get you print out a little UPC code, and they scan it when they get to the store. It's already got your credit card information in it. Just print it, take it to the counter, they scan it, boom, your money goes right back on your card. Pretty cool. Now, mental health has taken a twist. People are so stressed out now that a lot of companies are recommending apps to gauge people's mental stress. That's pretty interesting. Let's see what else is going on. Oh yeah, if you're interviewing online, by the way, we talked about Zoom earlier, that these hirers, the people that are doing the hiring, they are paying more attention. Like I tell you, just because it's on Zoom now, don't mean you can just do anything. They're actually paying attention to how you're paying attention. So if you have an interview on Zoom or some of these platforms, they're actually watching how you respond. Basically, if you're nodding, that means you're paying attention. If you're attentive and focusing on the speaker, you're paying attention. If you're laying down with a drink in your hand, I don't think it really took a steady group of geniuses to figure this one out. I think that was pretty. If you ask me, some things people just trying to be just a slow news day. I don't think that really required any type of special skills. Oh boy. Now we're going to jump right into we got coming up later in the show, we're going to talk about how to get ready for New Year. We're going to talk about reality checks. Before we do that, we're going to take another quick break. We're going to talk about a couple of the war in the workplace items, and then we're going to jump into our sermon for the day. So don't go anywhere. This is the Marketing Pulpit TV show. Thank you again for tuning in. We'll be right back in about 30 seconds. I'm not busy. I'm just in another era. Lock the refrigerator door. Do not let negativity have another bite. Don't feed it. If we know that women are carrying the burden, they should be paid more. They should be given more flexible work hours. I may stop at some period, but as long as folks bag the food, got to talk about it. All right, welcome back to the Marketing Pulpit TV show. I'm Robert Gatewood, your host. We are here every Friday at 10:30 a.m. bringing you the good marketing gospel. This is our final show of the year. 2021 this cake is about baked. I actually thought about doing a rerun show today, and but I wanted to talk to my audience one more time in 2021, and I'll be back. I'm gonna do a live show next week too, so I'll be back. I want to kick off 2022 in grand fashion as well. So thank you again for everybody who has tuned in from 2021 into this year, and even going all the way back to our Radio 1 days. And no, I have not written off Radio 1 yet. We're still in this pandemic, and I'm still a little slow about going into that studio. And so we're going to just put that on hold for now. As a matter of fact, I'm still officially a Radio 1 host, according to their website at least. But my plan is to get back over there. And I thank you, everybody at Radio 1, for making this show. They played a very pivotal role in the success of this show. Miss Karen Jackson, Mr. Ron Thompson, of course, Dr. Kathy Hughes, and all the good folks over there at Radio 1. Thank you again. I'm just thanking people today. Of course, I can't thank these folks online enough. The people that are tuning in right now, Richard and Maddie and Mary and Brenda and Gerald and Bradley and everybody else who I can't see on the screen. I know you're tuning in from different platforms, YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter. I'm going to do a quick war in the workplace today. We're going to get to our reflection on 2022. We're going to talk about reality checks. Um, the people in the airlines industry are still facing an onslaught from discourteous and downright vicious flyers. Federal prosecutors have charged a 43-year-old Tennessee woman with interfering with the top flight crew. She just lost her mind. She was filling up the male passengers, put her head on one of them's shoulder, and when the airline stewardess intervened, she grabbed her by her ponytail and dragged her down the aisle. Man, these airline people, I really feel for them. They're just trying to go to work, get their check, and go home, drink some eggnog, and get some champagne tonight. But Amanda Renee Henry, she acted flirtatious and made lewd sexual advances toward many of the passengers. And then she interfered with the flight crew when they tried to rein her in. What's wrong with people? Come on, folks. I know things have been a little tough in 2021. You get on these airplanes, you're stuck together sometimes, the runway is taking too long. But don't be dragging people down the aisle by their ponytail. That's not a good look, okay? Now, California hospital has been accused of leaving their deceased COVID patients outside on the sidewalk in the rain. Man, I'm telling you, folks, I whatever you can do to stay out of the hospital, I'm telling you, with vaccination or whatever, you need to do it because they just don't have enough resources right now for all the people coming through there. Morgues, hospital workers, they are really taxed right now. Let's see, a Krispy Kreme driver faces charges for a hit and run, and he kept going. The only reason I told this story because they make a pretty good donut, I must say. Anything that's going to interfere with that donut getting to this location, I have an issue with. So this driver ran over somebody, and he kept going. Now, one thing about hit and run that help people. One thing that hit and run people usually have to their advantage is that they're done stealthily. Nobody knows. They can't identify the vehicle that did the damage. That big donut on the side of the truck, ladies and gentlemen, I'm telling you, it's going to give you away every time. All you got to do is say, who was delivering Krispy Kreme donuts at 8 o'clock on Tuesday morning? Anyway, folks, I'm blaming a lot of this stuff to the pandemic, to COVID. But like I said earlier, Baby New Year told me, you don't get a get out of jail free card because it's the pandemic. If it was illegal before the pandemic, and I'm pretty sure running over people with your donut truck falls in that category, it's going to be illegal during the pandemic. Let's see here. Now, here's an interesting story. And I put this in the category of how else was this story supposed to end? Two groups of people met up. Somebody's dogs were stolen at a gas station. And so the person who had the dogs arranged a meeting to return the dogs, but they wanted some money. Now, if you just think about this story for a minute before we get into the specifics, do you really think this story is going to have a good ending? All right, thank you for bringing me my pit bulls. Here's your $500. Go on and have a happy life. Of course, the first question is going to come up: how'd you get my dogs in the first place? Why did you steal them? And people with certain types of dogs, I hate to say it, I hate to stereotype. Certain kind of dog owners, they kind of do fall into a certain category. It's about a big old pit bull holding two big mean pit bulls, and they kind of snapping at everybody. It kind of says a little bit about the owner. Not only stereotypes. I know a lot of dog people gonna get on my case, but I did not see this story having a happy ending. I just couldn't. I couldn't see it happening. So anyway, it ended up being. It resulted in a fatal shooting. Make a long story short, a fatal shooting was the result. So anyway, folks, that's gonna. Oh yeah, here's my last news story before we get into our reality checks for businesses for 2022. Amazon Alexa, they have this AI artificial intelligence that you can tell it'll tell you certain things to do. Well, it got in trouble. It had to do a reprogramming because it told a 10-year-old child to touch a coin on the partially exposed prongs of an electrical plug. Okay, very interesting. Of course, the mother said, "Oh, OMFG." Now I know OMG. What does OMFG means? Never mind. I'm just going to let my imagination. I'm not going to figure that one out. I'm sure you erudite people in my listening audience know what that F stands for. But anyway, she said, Alexa just asked my daughter to do this echo challenge. And of course, she sent a Twitter screenshot. And of course, AI, Amazon did a software upgrade to make sure it doesn't tell 10-year-olds to put metal on electrical prongs. Smart move, Amazon. Smart move. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Marketing Pulpit TV show. I'm Robert Gatewood, your host. We're here every Friday at 10:30 a.m. bringing you the good marketing gospel. We're going to get into our marketing sermon today. And marketing sermon just ties into the whole concept of this is a marketing show, and we kind of have some of the stylists of a religious service, but not much. And I would say, but I do pick up a lot of my antics from my dad, who was a Baptist minister. And so that's really how the show got its name. So when I put together one of the segments of this show is the marketing sermon. And it's really just the topic of the day, the marketing topic of the day. And before I get to that, I'm going to take one more quick break. This is going to be a quick one. And we're going to come back. We're going to talk about 5 reality checks for your business success in 2022. You have to go back every now and then and revisit things and make sure. Sometimes we have these purposes and things happen along the way, like a pandemic. You have to make some adjustments. We're going to talk about that when we come back. We're going to do some reality checks coming back on the Marketing Pulpit right after. Your first introduction to your network is actually your family and friends. Mom, dad, stepmom, grandpa, grandma, they are actually your first network. Now let's take this a little deeper here. So if our network determines our net worth, what if we're born into a network that's not really working in our favor? I think Maya Angelou said it better. When you know better, you do better. We can't determine who we're going to be born with. We don't choose our family. And in some cases, we're not even choosing our friends because we're cast into these organizations like schools and churches, sometimes before we even have a say in the matter. But as we get older and wiser, sometimes, I think Malcolm said it, sometimes you have to separate. You may have to go find yourself another network to hang with. I'm not busy. I'm just in another era. Lock the refrigerator door. Do not let negativity have another bite. Don't feed it. If we know that women are carrying the burden, they should be paid more. They should be given more flexible work hours. I may stop at some period, but as long as folks bag the food, got to talk about it. Who that guy with that coffee cup? Oh, that's me. Hey, folks, we've done several shows on branding. Your brand is the iconic representation of your logo is your iconic representation of your brand. Your brand is really about who you are, your purpose, what you plan to do with this business you started. And so this is my MPI cup, and this is coffee in here. I know I'm not starting the New Year Eve early. This is actually coffee. Made it at home, put it in the cup here. But yeah, this is my MPI, stands for Marketing Pulpit International. And I say international because we are broadcast all over the world. And we have followers and we've had guests from all over the world. So thank you for tuning in and just having me a little quick sip of my coffee this morning. And that's one of those things I said I was going to cut back on also in 2022. At least do the decaffeinated stuff. I stopped doing the caffeinated tea. So I'm making some progress. But we all have to do reality checks every now and then. We have to look at where we are, where we stand, Has anything changed to cause us to revisit? Sometimes we get so caught up in the servicing our customers, and do we take time to go back and look at revisit that purpose? Why we started this business? What made us decide to choose certain products? Our audience. So I'm gonna give you some things I want you to reflect on, revisit, and do a reality check before we get into 2022, before you find yourself going after markets that may no longer exist. Your purpose may have shifted, your landscape may have changed. So do these reality checks. First of all, let's re-examine your purpose. You need to remind yourself every now and then why you decided to get in this business. Now, sometimes that's a fastidious. That doesn't change. Sometimes conditions around you may change. Certain elements may change. But if you are true to your purpose, sometimes you have to go back and remind yourself, why did I start this business? What is my mission? What is my raison d'etre, my cause célèbre? Go back. And sometimes you get off track and you find yourself drifting. You need to go back and take another look at it. And sometimes you may have to realign. Sometimes I know your purpose is supposed to be this fastidious, irreconcilable entity, but it's okay every now and then to go back and look at it. At least remind yourself as to why you're going down this road. That's the first one. The second thing I want you to do a reality check on. Do you have the experience, the expertise, and the history behind you to keep going down this road that you're going on? Sometimes industries change. And sometimes you maybe didn't keep up. I'm not saying that you. And I know in my audience, we kept up. We didn't let things get out of hand. But you may have to every now and then go back and get another certification. Because one thing about business is that you want to be part you want to have what we call degrees of separation. You want to have differentiators, high barriers to entry between you and the others. And that degree you got or that certification you got 20 years ago, it may be more commonplace now. And in some cases, it may be even obsolete. So do a reality check to make sure that you're staying at the top of your game. That's number 2. Number 3, I want you to do a reality check on your audience. One of the foundational aspects of marketing success is to make sure you have an audience that needs the products and services that you're going after. That audience that dictates so many things. Your advertising, your messaging, your branding, the product selection. Has that shifted in 2021? Do you need to turn the knobs and the dials a little bit going into 2022? Myself, yes. I've decided there's certain elements of the market that I have right now that I would not be pursuing in 2021. Wasn't profitable, didn't help me with my mission, wasn't aligned with my purpose. It did not meet the check boxes. So why in my sagacity would I carry that into a new year? So I hate to say it. Yes, some of you clients under my voice maybe getting a nice little letter. I'm going to be nice about it. But everybody just won't make the cut, okay? I've got certain clients that they meet all of the tests. They understand the value of the service. They're willing to pay for it. They understand the marketing process. Those people, those are some of the check boxes. Some people, they just need probably a different company. I'm kind of like, I'm a thinker. I've just got to get in. When you become a client of mine, I'm all in. And if you're not there with me, then we're just not going to make it. I'm sorry. So, and I'm going to tell them, I'm not going to throw anybody to the curb. I mean, we talked about at the beginning of the show. Everything ends at some point. We can't control the fact that it will end. We can control the how, the when, and the why. So anyway, but I'm saying you have to do that. This is not about Robert Gatewood. This is about you. I'm saying you have to look at your audience and make sure that you are still with your products and services that you're offering are ideal for that audience that you have chosen to stick with in 2021? Will it work for you in 2022? And on the same vein, do the services that you offer work in 2022? Some of you all need to get rid of some of those SKUs. That's an old inventory term you used to use back in the day called SKUs, or stock keeping units. Or any type, if you're doing services, you don't need to offer people 50 different services. That's just making more work for you. Take your top 4 or 5 and get better at those. And then find that audience that we just talked about that you can cater to with that new selection. You're going to be so much happier, whether you're in a restaurant, whether you're selling clothing, whether you're selling services. You have to slim it down. That's going to help you with that audience that I talked about earlier. Because I've already told you, certain services I'm not going to pursue, but the ones that I keep, it's going to be a perfect match for the audience that I decide to retain as well. You got to do a reality check on your resources too. Relationships, assets, money. Do you have the money to execute this plan? Do you need to go out and get an EDIL loan? I think yesterday was the last, I think tomorrow, today may be the last day based on this last set of that CARES Act. If you got that PPP money and you're not paying it back, if you didn't, you got it nefariously, you better turn that back in because they want to come looking for you. Relationships. I can't say enough about this. My goodness. Some of those good relationships that you had, you might have to go dig them back up. Because sometimes we get so we get hung up on the product and the service and the money we're making, we forget about those relationships that got us there. Now, some of you have to let go because they've served their purpose. Sometimes people come into your life for a reason and a season, and you have to let those people go. But sometimes, and this is another reason I like a platform like LinkedIn, you can go back and revisit some of those people that actually were very pivotal in your success. And you might just reach out and say hello. And it's not always about what you can get from them, but what can you do for them and help you further your purpose if you have that purpose locked in, as we talked about in number 1. It's a good year going into 2022 to slim down. Less is better. I'm telling you. Get rid of some of these old devices that's sitting around. Get rid of some of this old inventory. Get rid of some of these old relationships, clients that's not working, products that's not selling. Be more efficient. This is a good time to do that reality check. And you're going to be surprised. It's an exercise. We got today, and you can still work on it in January. We got a whole weekend. We're going to extend this weekend to do some of these things we're talking about, taking this reality check. I also did a show a couple of weeks ago about be careful on your content, though. Don't throw away all those videos and pictures, because a lot of that content is going to actually, when you decide to become an influencer or a content curator, or all that stuff will come back to your benefit, because content is going to be very important going forward into 2022 and beyond. So don't be so hasty to throw away your old content. And I know you want to clear up things and get slim and mean, but hang on to some of that content. Get you a drive. You can get these old telephones, go find the cable that it came with it, stick it to your computer, download it into an external hard drive, or put it in the cloud. But hang on to some of that content. Not all of it, but some of it you can. And also the expectations. When was the last time you gave some thought to your end game? Where are you going with this business? Are you trying to sell it? You trying to scale it? Just trying to make a living? Now, once again, I did a show on the different types of businesses, and you have to do a reality check of where do you fall into this spectrum. Or is this just a side hustle for you that you thought might become something more substantial, but it didn't? Then you may have to do this reality check. So that's exactly what it's going to be. I'm going to maintain my 9 to 5, my good government job. This is going to be a side hustle. That's what it's going to be. Is this business now becoming your breadwinner? Is it replacing your major source of income? If it didn't in 2021, is that the goal of 2022? If it's not, we gotta go ahead and fess up. So it's not going to become that. But if it is, you got to double down and make sure you're doing some of these other things that I talked about so that you can get there. And of course, then there's another group called Scale It and Sell It. Or you trying to scale this business up to a point where you can sell it, go on top Shark Tank or somewhere, and that way you guys give you a chunk of money. Those are all the things that you want to consider. So I want you to do this as we wind down 2022, is to do this reality check. Go back, make sure your purpose is still solid. I know one thing, and I can talk on this until the cows come home. Whenever I've gotten lost along the way, whenever somebody brings me a new opportunity, and you know this is going to happen, somebody's got some people on their callback list right now. Somebody's trying to sell you on their latest fad, their latest gizmo, their latest income opportunity is going to make you rich. You're going to be sitting down on the yacht drinking mint tulips and and you always got that pink or yellow Cadillac, Mercedes, Rolls Royce. Yep, that might happen, but does it fit into your purpose? If it doesn't fit into your purpose, pass on it. There will be opportunities that will come along to help you with your purpose. When I decided to write a book, it's tied to my purpose. When I decided to have a radio show, it's tied to my purpose. When I decided to teach courses at the college, they're all tied to my purpose. Okay, when I decided to do government contracting, it's all tied to my purpose of helping small business owners and putting people to work. So when you get your purpose straight, everything else tends to fall in place. Also, make sure you have the skills, the knowledge. Make sure you understand that importance of that audience. Make sure you have that audience down. Then you got the products and services to feed that audience. Make sure you have the resources, the funds, the relationships, the assets to implement that plan. And make sure your expectations and your goals are clear as you go into 2022. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to wrap it up for now, but I'm going to wrap it up for 2021. The next time you hear this voice, it will be a new year full of promise, full of expectations. And I look forward to working with each of you and seeing you in whatever capacity. I consider you a stakeholder, whether you're going to be a client, whether we're going to do some a la carte services, whether it's going to be a referral to somebody else. I like the fact that you tuned in to me today. I really appreciate it. I don't take it lightly. You could have done a lot of other things this morning, but you decided to tune in to me here on the Marketing Pulpit TV show. I appreciate it. I thank you. And we're going to look forward going into 2021. Got a lot of big plans. You can find out more about me by going to gatewoodmarketing.com and also go to marketingpulpit.com. You can watch this show afterwards. You can share it with others. And also go ahead and like us on our YouTube channel, our Facebook page, our LinkedIn page, our Twitter account. And we're looking forward to seeing all of you in 2021. And I'm sorry, 2022. I like to close out every show with the help of Mr. Brown. Thank you very much. If you want to be successful, you have to do these three things. Do the right thing, do it at the right time, and you got to do it right. Enough talk. Let's get to work. See you in 2022. People don't understand marketing. You can't stop every time the money runs out. You need to come on and tell people why your service is different. Why is everybody so angry? Airline passengers biting the TSA agents. I mean, it reminds me of one of those zombie apocalyptic movies. And as a community, collectively, we're going to be taken more seriously if we have that strong economic foundation. Do the right thing, do it at the right time, and you have to do it right. Enough talk. Let's get to work.